Recently, I came across an audio clip of Manly P. Hall describing what he called effortless effort, and it rung eerily similar to the Daoist concept of Wuwei, sometimes translated as effortless action or non-action.
But by this means of effortless effort, the individual changes his policy, and a good example of this method of changing is in the selection of an adequate vocal coach if you intend to take singing lessons. In the, shall we say, Robusto style, the principal problem was to open your mouth and bellow. And nearly all, many of the older singers were quite content and happy if they could rattle the chandeliers in the back of the opera house. Then it was gradually discovered that this was the best way to ruin a voice that there was. These voices were damaged, and damaged terribly. Today we know that the best way to learn to vocalize is to reduce effort. That the principal problem that every singer has to get rid of is his own throat. If he could lose it, he would sing better. Get his mind off of the noise he is making. Relax and allow the breath to move as it will. And if he controls the breath with a minimum of mental energy, he will produce a pure tone. Well, if he gets behind it and shoves with everything he has, he will develop only a badly pressured, badly trained voice. Same thing in life. The purpose of life, the economy of life, is to use a minimum amount of energy to attain a maximum result.
Wuwei is comprised of two parts. Wu, often meaning without or lacking, and wei, often meaning action or doing. The concept of Wuwei stands in the forefront of pre-Qin Daoist philosophy. The oldest Daoist text, the Tao Te Ching, characterizes Wuwei, stating in the 40th chapter, translated by John C.H. Wu, learning consists of daily accumulating. The practice of Tao consists in daily diminishing. Keep on diminishing and diminishing until you reach the state of Wuwei, or non-action. Wuwei, or non-action, and yet nothing is left undone. To win the world, one must renounce all. If one still has private ends to serve, one will never be able to win the world. The second oldest Taoist text, the Zhuangzi, displays Wuwei through utilizing examples of skilled woodcarvers, butchers, and swimmers, just like Hall's skilled singer. Describing this, the sinologist Burton Watson says that for these individuals, skill has become so much a part of him that he merely acts instinctively and spontaneously, and, without knowing why, achieves success. The story of Cook Ding is a great example of this and goes as follows. Cook Ding was cutting up an ox for Lord Wenhui. At every touch of his hand, every heave of his shoulder, every move of his feet, every thrust of his knee, zip, zop, he slithered the knife along with a zing, and all was in perfect rhythm, as though he were performing the dance of the mulberry grove, or keeping time to Jing Shao music. Ah, this is marvelous, said Lord Wenhui. Imagine skill reaching such heights. Cook Ding laid down his knife and replied, what I care about is the way, which goes beyond skill. When I first began cutting up oxen, all I could see was the ox itself. After 3 years, I no longer saw the whole ox, and now I go at it by spirit, and don't look with my eyes. Perception and understanding have come to a stop, and spirit moves where it wants. I go along with the natural makeup, strike in big hollows, guide the knife through the big openings, and follow things as they are. So I never touch the smallest ligament or tendon, much less a main joint. A good cook changes his knife once a year, because he cuts. A mediocre cook changes his knife once a month, because he hacks. I've had this knife of mine for 19 years, and I've cut up thousands of oxen with it, and yet the blade is as good as though it had just come from the grindstone. There are spaces between the joints, and the blade of the knife has really no thickness. If you insert what has no thickness into such spaces, then there's plenty of room, more than enough for the blade to play about in. That's why after 19 years, the blade of my knife is still as good as when it first came from the grindstone. However, when I come to a complicated place, I size up the difficulties, tell myself to watch out and be careful, keep my eyes on what I'm doing, work very slowly, and move the knife with the greatest subtlety until, flop, the whole thing comes apart like a clod of earth crumbling to the ground. I stand there holding the knife and look all around me, completely satisfied and reluctant to move on. And then I wipe off the knife and put it away. Excellent, said Lord Wuwei. I have heard the words of Cook Ding and learned how to care for life. Effortless action, as Hall described it, and Wei Wuwei, or action through non-action, appear little different, and Hall's example of the former is a good example of the latter. It's always nice to see the application of ancient wisdom to modern examples. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe, and until next time.